So, Tiffanee Cook, welcome to Get Off the Bench.
Oh, it's good to be back, mate. It's good to be back.
I know I've done a few. For those who don't know, I do a few guest appearances on Tiff's Roll with the Punches podcast, and we just talk, and it's whatever comes out of our mouths, but it's always bloody fantastic conversation. I had Tiff on my podcast, this podcast on, I reckon it would have been 18 months ago or something like that. Oh, I don't know when it was. But anyway, back in the past, and I keep saying you've got to come back on. And I want you back on because a few things have changed since then. So welcome. It's always lovely to chat with you.
And here we are. I'm so honestly, we just get on and chat and insights left,
Yep.
right, and center. I love it. I love
Yep,
it.
me too. Yeah, me too.
Hopefully that'll happen this time too. Otherwise, you've drawn the short straw.
Ah! I'm sure it will. And even if I had really rigid questions, we wouldn't stick to them. I tell you what,
No,
because we'd
God
be all
no.
over the place. But something that's changed for you, and I do have a few questions actually, because I'm curious about a few
Mm,
things about you. So
mm,
back then, you were telling your story about, which is a great story by the way, uh, about getting into the boxing ring and having a life-changing aha moment, and really figuring out, hey, wait a minute, I'm wearing a mask. I've been bullshitting to people all my life, and now I want to be raw and true and honest and vulnerable. I'm going to tell you though, it's not a though, something about you. You
mm.
would have to be the most raw, vulnerable, open, authentic person I know. And that is a massive compliment because so many people do not do that. And I love that about you. I love it about you.
Thank you. That actually would probably be my favorite compliment. That is the biggest compliment to me, and it's because it's
Mm,
something that I very much value in other people as well as myself now. It's become
mm,
a real guiding light, and I feel a pull towards or away from people a lot based on that.
yeah,
And that's based, and that expression of kind of you see in someone what repel, if you see
yeah,
something you don't like in someone, it's a
yeah.
mirror reflecting yourself back to you. I've learned that that's it. When if I see that trait in someone of the show, and in authenticity, God, that was difficult to say. In authenticity, I feel a low level of repulsion's probably a strong word, but a dis, like I want to push away from that, and I know that that's because it reminds me of who I used to be, and maybe the pain and the sadness and the disconnection that really brought into my life.
Mm. And I think, and into the future, like you're talking about the reflection of the past, but into the future, when you started to say a low level, it's a real low level of trust too. When once you understand authenticity, you understand vulnerability and humility, rawness.
Mm.
When people are bullshitting, the deeper you become, the more vulnerable you become, the more raw, the more real you become, the more you see bullshit
Mm.
in other people,
Yeah.
and it's actually, yeah, see, I'll see, you're nicer than me. I'd go to the word despise. I kind of fucking despise it. It's like I know you're bullshitting to me, and
Mm.
I'd actually just want you to piss off. So you've got a much nicer, much more eloquent way of saying it, Tiff.
Yeah, I guess, I can forgive and accept any level of fuck ups and mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I can accept that. And if you can come to me and say, I fucked up, I did this, I take responsibility, this is what I thought and this is how it is. Like I can forgive any
Yeah.
level of those things, but one thing I just cannot forget, I cannot tolerate at all is that sense of knowing that someone's just not playing the reality game. And it's like,
Mm.
I don't want those people, I can't have those people in my world. I've had in the past some because you attract people that are what you're like. Like, so I had two really short but shitty relationships with blokes that ended up with me needing to get intervention orders,
Oh,
two in a row, and not in close succession either. The first one sent me, it was before boxing, so I kind of went from that experience, focused on boxing, didn't look at a bloke again for like ages because I was just too busy, and I was like, whatever. And then the next time I started dating a guy, within 3 dates, I was back in this same situation. I was like, okay, you're a bit crazy. 2 out of 2, I'm the common denominator. I'm attracting this. There's something in my nervous system that says when someone puts on a front, that's familiar, that's safe. I'm the one putting on a front. So we're connecting. And now I just won't fucking lean into those types of personalities anymore.
Yeah. Do you know what? You just said something that I love and I use it all the time when I'm coaching people is what's the common denominator?
Mhm.
And if it's you, change. Like look at what it is and do something about it.
Yeah.
But most people haven't got the guts to change. Yeah, most people haven't got the guts or the growth or this. I don't know what it is. I actually don't know. I want to understand this, but there's something to maybe it's the courage maybe to self-reflect, and go, it's me. I'm attracting this. What do I have to do to change? And I know I get it. Change is hard, and looking at yourself in the mirror is even harder. But look at the benefits that come from it. When you have the guts to do that. I got this thing. You got to chip your way through the blackberry patch to find the daisy patch. And it fucking hurts. Like you get banged up and scratched, but people know. Like we all know that this same situation is repeating itself, and yet we lie and lie and lie, and we lie to ourselves more than anyone else, and yet it really, when you look at that in real terms, it's a real low level of self-worth, isn't it? That I'm just going to keep lying to myself because I don't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah. I remember talking about this a lot previously, and I probably haven't talked about it a lot for a while, but it's come up, and I'll tell you about a book I just read because I loved it. But it come up that this idea of accepting the difference between fault and responsibility. What happened to me wasn't my fault. Fault's a real shitty word that we use that puts blame onto something and pushes it off ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's not about blame. It's not my fault. What happened to me is not my fault, but it's 100% my responsibility. And with owning that comes the power to change, becomes the empowerment.
Yep.
And that came up again because it was a message that was relayed in this latest book, and it's not a new book. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday.
Yeah.
Fuck, amazing book, right? And it talks a lot about owning the responsibility for all of your actions. And as I was listening to that chapter, I was thinking about, and it was talking about the people that, I was talking about loving and appreciating the people that you hate, the people you don't like, the people that
Yep.
have hurt you. And I was thinking about some of those people in my life and trying to wrap an emotion around that, trying to wrap the concept and go, how can I manage the ability to do that? Totally lost my train of thought then of where I was going with it.
Yeah, me too. Too busy listening to you. No, you talk about the fault and responsibility.
Yes, right. So it was the idea of going, so I was thinking of one in particular. I won't go into details. I was thinking of one in particular. And I was like, okay, it's very easy, and it's also very true if we want to look at it like this, that they were a bad person that did a bad thing to an unsuspecting, naive person. They did it vindictively and unapologetically, and it hurt me, and it left me with a whole range of bullshit that now I, have to deal with. However, it happened because in that situation, I didn't have a bunch of skills that I needed to develop, because another person wouldn't, okay, and it's not my fault I didn't have those skills. I wasn't in situations and upbringings and experiences and around people where I developed them, right? We can only know what we've been taught and shown and conditioned to know. So not having a certain skill, or, like not being great with understanding confrontation and how to trust and how to manage relationships just it wasn't a skill that I naturally developed well, right? Not
Mm.
my fault. I'm the only one responsible for it, right? So still, this thing that happened is my responsibility, not theirs. And I think just thinking about the situation like that is a real opportunity for growth,
Mm.
because that also it allows me to get distance from it. Because this time down the track, we're down the track from now, I'm away from it, but still, if I think about it, there's a lot of angst comes up. I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
when you think about that meta kindness that
Yep.
the Buddhists talk about, that meta kindness and extending kindness out to
Yep.
the world, to someone you
Yep.
loved, someone you liked, someone you're indifferent to
Yep.
yourself, and then
Yep.
also to someone that you don't like. And most of us get to that one we don't like, and it's like, nah, but they're a fucking arsehole. Like that's where I get to. It's like, yeah, but I could do it with all the people, but not that one because they're a fucking asshole. But
Yeah.
there's still shit there for me. And so having lessons like that to hear someone talk about and then allow me to just, it's like sitting in a big, big room with me and my thoughts and feelings around that and going, how else can I look at this so that I can appreciate components of it and then grow?
Yeah. I think that's called the loving kindness meditation. Is it?
Yeah.
Is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Oh, one thing I just want to, I want to query that you said about it's not your fault. And I agree with that. It's not like you didn't have the skills and everything else, and somebody else took advantage of a situation that perhaps for somebody else they wouldn't have taken that same advantage of. But then when you said it's my, and it's not their responsibility, it's mine, I want to disagree. I want to say, well, they've got to own the accountability. They've got to own what they've done because it was fucking shit. Does that make sense? But
Yeah.
I don't think the whole responsibility is on you, but for that situation. However, I think that the response, the response to it is your responsibility. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's your your life is your responsibility, moving forward is your responsibility. You can't, and I get annoyed when people say, oh, it's my mum's fault that I'm like this. No, well, you're an adult, so it
Mhm.
is it is it is what your mum did that made you think this. But now you're an adult, therefore you've got to take responsibility for the choices you make in your life and how you move forward. So I
Mm.
don't think you should take responsibility for what someone else did as a shithead, but I do think you need to take responsibility for the response you have to it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I guess when I say the responsibility is understanding how to, I mean, there's more than one of those people in the world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
them. They're
Yeah.
out and they're looking to connect with people that have vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And so it's our responsibility as individuals to understand where we have our vulnerabilities
Yeah.
and work on them. And for me, like I don't want to say too much about the situation to give it away, but to me, I learned a lot out of that situation. I learned a lot of things and values that, so out of everything that hurt me, I I gained something that I value more and wouldn't give back. And so from
Mm.
that, I learned a lot about values and I mean at a deep level, like
Yeah.
real values. We talk about values and then
Yeah.
people put values on their fucking corporate walls and that,
Yeah.
and it's a
They're
throwaway
bullshit.
line.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I learned and connected with them on a level and went, that's a guiding light for me. That's change forever. And so moving forward, I'll have real positive outcomes because of that wouldn't have happened if old mate didn't come along and shit in my bloody backyard.
I agree. I actually agree. I think that it would have been really nice to learn lessons without adversity, but I reckon
Yeah.
we don't, because nothing nudges us, nothing pushes us to find. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
a leopard doesn't change its spots. I like saying a leopard doesn't change its spots unless it's scun. Until it's
Um,
and I hate the thought of an animal being scun, but it's kind of like
mm,
most people don't change. Most people don't care to change unless something hurts them. Like most people don't go, oh, I think I'll change today because it would be a really nice thing to do for other people. Most people are like that bloody hurt. Now I need to shift something because I don't want to feel that pain again. That's
exactly.
hey. you said about values. I freaking love that. Right. No, I'm changing subject, but we do this. If you're listening, this is what we do. But when you said, all this bullshit values up on corporate walls, oh, I couldn't agree more. And it's just like, and I have some organizations ask me to, can you help the staff align to our values? And sure, I can do work on that. But you know what? It's like if you can't make someone just love your values, and unless they can see how the corporate values actually align to their own values and feed their own values, there'll never be alignment. Like we are, every human being is loyal to their own set of values. But these values are integrity, honesty, they're great words. They're great words, but are they truly your value? Like values are really freaking much deeper than that. Now, I do values in my leadership program. And sure, I've got that. I've got that quiz for people to do. Like in which you have 10 favorite words, and which they now get down to 10 now, 5 now, get down to 3, and all that. And it's always bothered me. I've always thought, just it's not right. It's not deep enough. And then I looked at pillars, and then I looked at, well, what are the exceptions? Actually, I'll tell you about that before I go any further. So you might say honesty is my value, right? And this came from a guy that I'm on his mailing list, Michael Whitehouse. And I thought, what a great analogy. So I say honesty, right? And then let's say somebody breaks into your house and they kidnap, your kid, right? And so then they say, "What? I'm going to hold you to ransom, and I want you to bring $1 million. Come alone, no police, come alone, and I'll swap you the kid for the $1 million." So you think, right, well, I'll go, but I'm going to have my best mate hiding behind the bushes, and who's going to bop him on the head, as soon as he lets my daughter go or my kid go. And so this kidnapper says to you, "Did you come alone?" And you say, "But now I only value honesty," right? And I hold everybody else to honesty except myself. So I go, "No, I didn't come alone because I value honesty. And my best mate's hiding in the bush is going to bop you on the head." So, of course, you say, "Yes, I came alone. So, therefore, I only value honesty when it suits me." Does that make, and there are exceptions. And that's probably a little bit of a dramatic sort of thing. But it's also, I value honesty if you do it, but I don't have to. That kind of shit.
Yeah.
Now, it got me really thinking a lot, and I started thinking about, I want to know more about intrinsic and extrinsic values. Like what motivates us from the outside, what drives us from the inside. I'm still pondering this. I'm still discovering, so I don't have any breakthrough outcome for you. However, when I started searching it, I found this website called findyourvalues.com. Now, I wish I got bloody even $1 for every time I talked about this, because I'd even start to be, my bank account would be starting to add up really well. But anyway, I did this findyourvalues.com, and just for fun, it was a quiz. And I thought, I got to the end. I thought it's just bullshit. It's just a quiz, but I like doing quizzes. Don't we all love doing quizzes about ourselves, right? And so I got to the end, and then it said, well, thanks for doing it. And that'll be $20 to find out your answers. And I was really pissed off. I'm like, oh, that sucks. You should just give me an overview, blah, blah. And I'm like, screw you, not getting my $20, right? And then after I calmed down and thought about it, I thought my curiosities, Jesus, I need to know. I need to know. So, $20, it doesn't matter. It's not going to kill me. So I paid the $20, and I tell you, it was the best $20 I ever spent. And it came back with I'm not going to say them exactly right, but my top 3 values. And it was absolutely spot on. But I could never have articulated it. And it was societal security, so public safety, right? And the second one was nature and the environment. I could have guessed that. And the third one was universal. I can't think, but it's about everyone in the universe being equal, being, justice. It was all that. Now, the first one was really if anyone had have asked me that, like I could never have dredged that up from my unconscious and my and articulated it. But it made so much sense because, every time someone drives like a fuckwit on the road, I burst into this rage. It's an internal one. I'm not out bloody, doing road rage and shit. But it's like, I think, you bloody dickhead, what if you bloody crash into someone, kids walking across the road, and I get really furious about it, and it's like when someone, like that bloody guy stabbing six people, I'm furious about it. The dickhead who drives through people in Melbourne, I'm furious about it. And yet it never, ever, ever crossed my mind that my fury was related to a value on this. But when
Values.
I got that result and it said societal security, and
Oh,
I thought, wow, because nothing else in the world sends me through the roof, like
yeah.
idiots who might harm somebody else or who are harming somebody else. And it was just one of those breakthrough moments. And I am so glad I did it. And I reckon for $20, that has made, I can now articulate,
I'm
and
gonna
now
go
I
do
can,
that. I'm
yeah, I
gonna
can
go
now
do
join
that.
the bloody dots. And someone else in my leadership program did it, and she said, "Wow!" And she sent it to me, and she said, "It is spot on. It's absolutely bloody spot on." And hers was something like benevolent caring or something like that. But you get a big wheel, and it sort of shows you how where you rate on all of the things. But anyway, I want to mention that because it was fascinating,
Yeah,
fascinating.
well, I think what gets in the way is when we're answering questions like that, or even just in the world thinking someone goes, "What do you value?" That whole idea of people pleaser and putting on a front,
Yeah,
we get confused between actual values and society's expectations
yeah,
or noble things to say.
yeah. We do.
I remember doing John Demartini's values determination test. That's a free one you can do.
Yep, I love
And
that too. Yep,
yeah, and I remember at the time, kind of getting a hierarchy of what was important to me. And it's a couple of things I knew, but there was one thing that I was saying that I really loved and wanted to do more of. And I just thought this, I don't reckon this will come up. And it come up as a top value. And I was like, oh, it really is. Oh, like I was
yep,
really surprised by that. So it's nice. There's a
yep,
lot of quizzes out there that just feed back the same shit you put into them and you kind of don't, you go, well, I
yep,
always do those self-test quizzes and think, I don't know. Like am I answering the
yep.
who I am or the perception of who I want to be? Because that's a different thing.
Oh, absolutely. That's a different thing. That DeMartini, I did the breakthrough experience, and it was a 3-day
Oh,
program
yeah,
with John, and you were actually, you had John on your podcast, and he came on
yeah,
mine as well. He's and one of the things that we did in that, and this relates back to what you were talking about earlier, you had to do a thing on think of a person who's harmed you, or or you can't forgive, whatever, haven't
yeah.
tried forgiving. And then we had to write down all the traits that that person has that we think are shit, and the reasons why we friggin' hate them, that sort of stuff. And then you're wildly writing down, oh yeah, is a liar, is a this, is a that, you're writing all this stuff. And then he asks you, and when have you done that?
Oh,
Oh my God. Okay, punch in
yeah,
the face. And the whole thing was really good to say that we're all the same.
yeah.
We're holding these um hatred, hated begrudgingly hating people, that sort of stuff, for things that we have got on our high horse about and our high morals about, and
Mm.
oh, I can't believe they do that. I would never do that, but we do. We probably still do. And
Yeah.
it was a really good eye-opening thing. I did that years ago, and I still think about that, but when have I done
Wow.
that? And I think, fuck,
Yeah.
I only just did it today, so Karen, get off your bloody high horse.
That's a really good you just reminded me of a practice I get people to do sometimes, I am statements and I actually picked
Yep.
this up off or the concept off of Nadine Champion who's a girl I had on my podcast a while ago, and it's getting people to write down, some of those positive statements about themselves, like what,
Yeah.
write some good things about yourself.
Yeah.
And people really struggle, like
Yeah.
really struggle. And then once they tap out at whatever dismal amount of good things they have to say about themselves,
Yeah.
you go, all right, well, now I want you to think of the things that you have been once that you can remember. Like if I am kind, right? Oh, I'm
Mm.
not kind. I'm an arsehole. Okay, well, have you been kind though? Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I've been kind before. All right, well, then you are kind.
Mm.
I mean, you've shown that you can be kind. So then it's a nice process to go, oh,
Mm.
hang on, like this whole identity. And again, in that book that I was reading, another thing I loved, it to get a book that actually makes you, like, I was so receptive to putting beliefs and ideas and things that I deem a certain way or positive in any way, that I have my own beliefs and perceptions about, to put them under the microscope in a really polarizing way. So, for example, he talked about passion, and
Mm.
passion being not, like not a good thing, not a positive thing, and the reasons why,
Mm.
and how passion, doing what we love, and this seek for passion. And I love how, because everything we do, we're listening to people, and then we adopt 100% of that idea.
Yeah.
Also, we should all follow our passion. So if you've just got a job, you should go out and find your passion, because that's the only way to be happy. And
Yeah.
we have this all or nothing attitude, and not pieces of it, just
Yeah.
all or nothing. Well, I have to follow my passion and do only that. Like, one of the most annoying things about not having a boss is I'm I'm an awesome worker, I'm a shitty boss, and now I'm my boss. I'm my boss, and I don't know how to manage me. I don't have anyone to manage me. And I don't have anyone to do the shit stuff, or follow things through, or do
Yeah.
the stuff that I want to do that I just don't do, because I'm so busy just being the good worker.
Yeah.
And hell, mate. Like, no one
Oh,
tells you that when you're quitting your job.
no, they don't. My boss is an asshole as well, but
Oh,
uh, yeah, yeah. I don't believe in that, in the toxic positivity stuff. I believe in moments of joy. You and I talked
mm,
about this the other day. Just find those moments that buddy bring you joy, and the moments of passion, call it whatever you like, but the moments that bring you alive. That the day can disappear and you don't even know it's gone. Or the even the 10 minutes can disappear. And you were
yeah,
so immersed in something that you didn't even, that happens in moments. Like, no one's
yeah,
got the perfect life, and we can't
yeah,
have the. I think I've got a great job. I just think I'm bloody as lucky as hell, and you must think the same, But
yeah,
it doesn't come because we just followed our passion and have all this luck on our side. It comes from bloody work, and it comes from a lot of pain. Just to set yourself up in this space. But
yeah, yeah. And I reckon you can, I know I have, you fall into the trap of conditioning yourself for the more and the thrill and the chase and the do, and then you lose. Like, I am doing everything I love, and too much of everything, really, like all of the things. And
yeah,
it's awesome, but because I'm at times I have to I've just reined myself back in again and gone, okay, we're reining back here. We've got boundaries here. Oh, look at me setting boundaries. Didn't even know what they were 5 minutes ago. But yes, because all of the things I love then become this, I don't know, it's like the mind is just more, 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 do this, do that, and then no praising, no celebrating, no
yeah,
having joy and enjoying. Like, I think of Mondays. Mondays are a big day in the gym for me. I've got clients kind of back to back to back for quite a big chunk of the day. Most of my days are just small iterations of two or three, and so it's nice. I like that. Mondays have become a big day, and then often I have a couple of podcasts or a couple of meetings. So it's kind of a day that's like, it almost feels like, again, like a work day, because
yeah, yeah,
there's not big gaps in between. It's like this to this to this. All right, I've got a boss, right? There's a diary, and it's full.
yeah,
And it was only, well, especially this week, but recently when I go, I don't have to, I'm not just rushing to get that done.
Yeah.
Like I'm enjoying I get up and I go for a run beforehand, right? Because then it ticks the Tiff box. I go, all right, I'm going for a run. I have good energy. Then when my energy's good and I feel like I've served me first, then when I'm with each of those clients, I'm not thinking ahead. I'm not thinking, am I going
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
time to go for my run? And if I don't, and or what about my
Yeah.
exercise? And yeah, just the beauty in a
Mm.
really basic day that's always the same, because most of my days are also very different.
Yeah.
And I've just been appreciating it more.
I love that. And I love that sort of filling your own cup first. Most people feel selfish to fill their own
Mm.
cup. I try to walk the dogs. We walk the dogs. We live on a farm, so we got a long driveway and we lock the gate up at, up the end, and we just go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Just let the dogs do whatever they want. And
Yeah.
we talk, we stroll. Sometimes we go
Mm.
fast, whatever. But it's just a lovely, lovely. And when we don't, it's kind of like, oh, I'm not going to get a walk in today. If I've got a workshop, like, yeah, well, this happens like 2 days a week, not just random days, but I usually have to travel well over an hour, and I've got to be there an hour before it starts. And, so I'm leaving home way too early to be doing and I miss it. I miss it.
Mm.
Tiff, I want to ask you, because we just did this in my program last week, and we went around the room and we asked everyone, because you're just talking about just perfect timing. If you could do your ideal job, what would it be? Do like what's your ideal, not a job, like work? What does a perfect day look like? And what, everyone in that room said stuff like, I'd love to build a wedding venue, and I'd love to. It was just amazing what came out of people's mouths. And I want to ask you, I'm so curious.
I'm doing exactly what I want to be, but I would like more space and time, so maybe less one-to-one clients, because what I love most is a variety of events and workshops. So I just
Mm.
started a boxing workshop that I haven't done for 2 years, right? Because I've
Yeah.
been too busy doing it on Sundays. It's a 2 hour workshop and then we go for lunch. I love
Mm.
communities. That's why I loved your Girls with Hammers event. Like that
Yeah.
pulled on my heartstrings, because I like um setting the energy. I feel like I'm good at, you're amazing at it. Like
Oh.
I'm speaking to the guru when it comes to it, but I love that. I love what you do. That's why I rave about your event every time. I don't rave about anyone's events as much as I rave about yours, because, and I guess it's because you
Thanks.
reflect exactly what I love to do, but you do it so well. I love being able to take an energy, get a whole bunch of people and misfits in a room of all sorts that are kind of nothing like each other. We went for lunch after our first session, and only the two of the girls had met each other in the sessions 2 years ago. The rest of them had never met. We do a 2 hour session. We're sitting at lunch, and I just sat in the middle of that observing and going, I feel like I'm at a school reunion. These guys were strangers.
Yeah.
And previously, I've had people sharing big vulnerabilities and
Yeah.
crying at cafes over lunch,
Yeah.
because they're sharing parts of themselves they've probably never shared with anyone, because you're taking people who in certain ways or times or parts of their life, because I think we all have part of this in us where we feel disconnected and isolated and not the same,
Yeah.
and they click. Like, I
Mm.
love that. So I'd like to do, and one of the big things missing from what I do right now is, and it's because it's a bandwidth and resource issue, but I want to do more. I would like to be partnered with or have a cause and a community, like
Yeah.
yeah, and a cause to something more philanthropic
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
with meaning. And I've met a company recently that's doing great stuff, and they're local here in Melbourne. I'm catching up with them, and I'm like in St Kilda, sorry, and I was like, oh, that might be someone I can
Yeah.
lean into doing stuff with, because doing work that matters
Yeah.
matters most, because
Yeah.
it's like it's I love teaching boxing, but the reason I love those workshops is because I get these women. I've got, some of them drive over an hour to get there,
Mm,
right? It's
mm,
crazy. But it's because I know what it feels like to be a woman who's probably never thrown a punch before, to feel safe in a gruff little boxing gym and to actually learn and understand technique and power and physical exertion,
mm,
but also feel like you don't have to put on a bravado front, and we can also laugh and talk about our little quirks and who we are and connect on
mm.
that, and then all of a sudden go, shit, we're all exactly the same. How'd that happen? I love that.
But you create a space, where people actually feel a sense of belonging. That's critical. Like I think well, no, we're not saying we've totally lost it, but places like that, or spaces like that, or moments like that have decreased so rapidly. We're like when we're so disconnected, we don't have we don't know where we belong in the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are
Yeah.
not connected to a group or to a bunch of people, or and it's actually something that's very it's critical for human beings.
Yeah,
You know.
I reckon that I'm going to do that test. I reckon something around belonging would probably come up as one of my highest values. It holds a lot of meaning to me. I
Mm,
reckon to feel like
mm,
I belong and to feel like I'm not discardable. I've talked about that before. That's come up in deep and vulnerable conversations. That idea of being a commodity to
yeah,
people,
yeah,
being
yeah,
a use that will be
mm,
discarded. And it's a pattern that's happened a lot in various ways.
yeah,
And so that's one of my sensitivities. So to create something that I now know can be, which is why I turn up and I put myself wholeheartedly, authentically who I am, and I open up and I'm vulnerable. So at least I'm not putting on the facade
yeah,
that means people, you don't get to know people. So yeah,
yeah.
I do love that. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Um, I do have one more thing to ask you. Well, we can keep talking, whatever. I love talking to you, but just as I'm thinking about, like ego, because when you were talking about that, I was thinking
Mm,
it's really nice to be so immersed in something that your ego disappears. You just this sense of giving, and you're there, you're in that space. There's no
yeah,
ego. It's just.
yeah.
However, then how do you balance this, right? Because speaking of ego, Mark Seymour, the picture up behind you, just did a Mark Seymour, a legend of Australian rock for many, I don't know, God, decades, and from Hunters and Collectors, has just written a whole album dedicated to you called The Boxer. And you've been doing some training work with him, and you've really become good friends, and have helped him on his journey a lot. Now there's got to be some ego attached to that. It's kind of like, oh fuck, I can't believe it, Mark Seymour. How do you how do you bring yourself back down to reality to say he's just a normal guy? Because like seriously, there's a lot of people in Australia who would go, fuck,
Yeah.
and now if I could hang out with Mark Seymour. So
So
yeah.
that's easy. That's a really easy one. He is so, and the funny thing is, when I first started hanging out with him, we train and we go for coffee, so we talk a lot. And he'd often mention this. I've had him on the podcast a couple of times, and he thinks he would describe. He often has described himself as someone who has an ego or had an ego, has an ego. And I put him up once. I said, actually, like, you don't. He actually doesn't think that highly. He doesn't one of those people that genuinely he works hard, he loves his craft, he loves his art, but he doesn't think highly of it. He says that himself. I don't actually think highly of my work. And so it's very easy. Like I remember I remember the moments at first of how my perception of it. And like I remember the first time he came into the gym and you just kind of like, this guy's coming in to train with me. What the hell? And I remember seeing a lady kind of out of the corner of her eye watching him, and I was like, lady, is it like hard work being you? Is it exhausting? Like people just,
Yeah.
but then, and then we'd walk up to the cafe, and I would be so aware of if people are looking at him or stop to talk to him. And then by the end, a couple of years in, I'm just walking up to the cafe with my client, and we just happened to talk about maybe in the early days there was this bloke at the cafe on two tables down, and he started talking about the music studio up the road. And then when this bloke left, Mark turns to me and goes, I think that guy's really famous. And I'm like, what a fucking weird thing for you to say to me. Like, do you know who you are? You don't what? What? Um, so yeah, but the concept of the whole, yeah, it's weird. It's weird to go. I would give anything, honestly, anything to be able to wave a wand, go back to 2020 when I sat and had tears in my eyes re-watching our podcast where he sung over Zoom, sung Throw Your Arms Around to me. And as I watched it afterwards, I'd welled up with tears just thinking,
Yeah.
this just happened to me. This is like I
Mm.
just got, oh my goodness. I would love to be that girl right now and have someone tell me that without a doubt that in 4 years' time you'll have trained him for 2 years and you've on the cover of the album because he's written a song about you.
Well, you wouldn't have
And
believed it.
I wouldn't have believed it, but
No.
and I love that because John DeMartini talks about how we put people on pedestals, and
Yeah.
if we put people on pedestals,
We become depressed.
yeah, and also if we put people below us, like, so both of those
Yeah.
things, it's about putting,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
just being on the same level. And
Yeah.
the beauty, I look back at, and it's not just him that I had that perception on, it's everybody. I think
Mm.
about all of the guests I've had on where I've just been starstruck, and they sit and talk to me like you and I are now, like
Mm.
mates, and now that perception's gone. I don't
Mm.
value anyone based on this idea of perception. So now when I listen to a book like Ryan Holiday's about ego and he's talking about all these other people, or when I listen to Hugh from the Resilience Project on his podcast talking about how he started that,
Yeah.
and rather than what I would have once heard, which is this super famous guy that made the Resilience Project and he's
Yeah.
amazing and famous and everyone knows him, it's like, I was this dude got a lucky break and
Mm.
he's sharing it with us. And
Yeah.
he's just had, and he worked really bloody hard for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Mark's career, this album was the first one that they've played on commercial radio since Hunters and Collectors, since his first
Wow.
solo, like, because his music wasn't commercial in
Yeah.
inverted commas.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful opportunity to be behind the scenes of that, and that's something I'll always value because
Mm.
it's grounded me, and it's changed my sense of, I guess, perception and people and
Mm.
relationships, and I love that.
Yeah. No, and I love that too. And I love that you see the humanness in people and this I used to I've in being in the music industry and a couple of other things I've done, I have met some exceptionally famous people. But I don't talk about it. I don't sort of, it doesn't matter other than saying this, I'm not saying who they are or anything like that. But what I've found is they're just people.
Yeah.
They're just people. And I used to be kind of like, oh wow, like that person's famous and I'm getting to talk to them and now it's like it's not. And they're just fucking people. And actually most famous people want to just be treated like people. Do you not
Yeah.
not big superstars, and because that's what they get all the freaking time, and it's refreshing
Mm.
for someone. Although I have to say, I did kiss Tom Selleck. No, and it wasn't
Boom.
it wasn't his choice.
Good work, mate. Good work.
I was in
When did you whack one on
That
him?
was so funny. I was in Hawaii, so we're not friends, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure we are now after the
Hey,
kiss.
oh,
But
definitely.
we he was in a restaurant in Hawaii, and he was my idol, my TV idol. And
Oh,
I looked, and this is a case of, oh my God, I looked over and I went, fuck, that's Tom Selleck. And I just went straight home and sat in his booth with him. And I said, how you going? He said, oh, I'm good. I'm pretty tired. He's with his girlfriend. Oh, some woman. I just got back from Japan. I just got off a flight. I'm pretty exhausted. And I think what he was actually saying in a nice way is, fuck off.
fuck
I'm
off.
tired and I just want to eat my dinner. And
And you took that as lean over, honey, give me a kiss.
I did. So
You've only got one opportunity, mate.
you
You
only
may as
got,
well take
yeah,
it.
one crack at it, so make it a good one. So I did, and I kissed him on the lips. And as I went back to my table, his bodyguard come over to me and threatened me, "Don't you ever bloody do that again. How
Oh,
did you get through me?" And so I didn't even see a bodyguard. So I started priding myself on, geez, I'm the biggest, sneakiest bastard ever. I can sneak through bodyguards without them
that's a
seeing me.
win, mate. That is a win. Well done.
That's it. So I do talk about that, but not because I kissed Tom's up, because what an idiot. I just pushed myself into someone's space. He
Oh,
probably said, "Who the fuck was that?" Afterwards.
oh, that is gold. That is gold. Did I tell you, just on the topic of the album stuff, did I tell you when I can't remember if we ever spoke about it. I remember telling someone when he released that and did his first ABC interview.
No, you haven't told me that. I don't
So
think.
this was a big thing for me with obviously my background. If anyone, well, probably most people listening won't know, but so I grew up with childhood trauma. So I was sexually abused for a lot of years. Didn't bring it up until I had spent 2 years boxing and it came up, right? So that's
Mm.
kind of the story of getting in the boxing ring. These memories start coming up. I'm like, oh, what are we thinking about these for? Blah, blah. Anyway, so that's kind of the backstory. So he writes this song. So he's training with me. And after a couple of training sessions, we're messaging. And I said, it's my intention to unleash so much gym trauma, you write a song about me on your next album. Ha ha. And he wrote back, ha, the boxer, it's already started.
Oh
And he's got
wow.
a very dry sense of humor. So I'm like, is he fucking serious? And then about a couple of hours later, he just asked he just messaged through a couple of questions about like what town you grow up in, and I'm like, why? And he goes, lyrics. And I was like, fuck off, this guy's serious. That was so then it took 18 months to 2 years before that song came to fruition. So it was a long time. And I'd told a couple of close friends, like, oh my God, writing a song about me. But even when I said that, I was very careful with my wording. The day that he was on ABC Breakfast TV, and I went home and I watched, and he's sitting on the couch with Lisa Miller and someone else, and he picks up the album cover and she goes, oh, tell us about the album. And he's like, the cover, I really like it. That's Tiffanee Cook. And he talks about me.
Yeah, I do remember that interview. Yeah.
Oh my God. So he talks about me a little bit. And after watching that, I laid on my bed in what felt like a kind of a trance, an emotional trance for I don't even know how long, really emotional. And I realized, and this is something I'd carried through all these years from that childhood abuse, was I was always the secret.
Mm.
And so when I was telling people, I wasn't, it was like he's writing a song kind of about me. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
is it about
Playing
me
it
or I
down.
mean, he's
Yeah.
told me it's about me. He's written lyrics. He's asked me about my life for the lyrics. So it is, but I was like, what if it's not though? What if he doesn't want it to be? And the fact that he named me and talked about me, and I was like, fuck, I've carried that belief and I've been that and I've accepted that that is who I am. I'm the girl that's hidden away. I'm a girl that will have a friendship, but we won't ever tell anyone because I'm to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
And oh, it was a big one for me, and I think these are the sort of things over years and years you think you've left something in the past, but these little things can still
Mm.
be embedded and they're beautiful. Well, like that was a really powerful moment. And
Yeah.
being on the cover is cool, having a song is cool, but it's the meaning behind it. It's
Yeah.
the small stuff, the therapeutic stuff, that's the stuff I really value.
Mm.
And far out.
Wow.
That was massive.
That makes it all worth it, doesn't it? It's not, it's
Yeah.
not, it's not about the cover. Well, the cover's great, the song's great, like all of that's great,
Yeah.
but it's those moments, of realization, those moments of healing. Actually,
Yeah.
that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Moments of I'm okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm okay. I am a good person. I am worthy. It's
Yeah.
those kind of moments that matters.
And I think the idea that like this wasn't a commercial venture. This wasn't him going, oh, I could make $1 out of that. Oh, what a cool concept. He
Mm,
got
mm,
captured by the story of resilience. He was captured by how I taught boxing and my story behind it and and I didn't know that at the time he was going through a rough time and a big change. His marriage was ending amicably, but his marriage was ending. He was at a kind of a choice point in life.
mm,
And he might have even, I mean, he could have left music behind. I don't know.
mm.
But he had this attachment, and the entire album is the most vulnerable album that he's ever written. And it all signifies resilience and vulnerability. So it's the actual authenticity of the music. And even when he picked that photo to use for the cover, he didn't pick it like he picked it because of the expression on my face. He goes, and it was a shit photo. A bloke had taken it on his phone 10, 12 years ago at my very first fight. Didn't even know who it was. It was some shitty pixelated thing that they had to work on to make work. But he was like, oh, that expression on your face, there's something sad but beautiful about it. And I want to use that for the image. And I
Wow.
love that because it wasn't just this commercial venture, this marketing ploy. It was, I've got a story to tell because I've connected with something here. And it's something that's happening in a different way in his own life.
Mm. You see the value in, you saying, all your childhood stuff, and I just need to hide away and I need to not put my neck out there because nobody values it, blah, blah, blah. And you would just do this. This is what I think people miss about we've all got something that somebody can help somebody else. And we
Mm.
often think we haven't. So you're just doing your day-to-day stuff, just what you do. And he took so much from that. Like you helped him heal. And so if you persisted with that story that I'm a nobody, I'm a nothing, I need to hide away, you prevent somebody else from healing. And it's
Yeah.
just so important that we show up, even if we're not happy with some of the stuff we're showing up with, because
Yeah.
if it helps one person heal, and I've spoken to people who go, well, it's not my bloody job to help other people heal. And I get that. I get that. It's, we've got to keep ourselves upright. And I get it all. But we all want a peaceful life. We all want a happy world. And when I say happy, happy enough and just people not harming each other. If we can help heal somebody in some tiny little way, and that makes them a better person to others around them, that
Yeah.
improves the world, and therefore we all win. So it kind of is our responsibility, to help somebody heal, because we would say, if you wouldn't say to someone, well, I hope your kids have a shitty fucking life and I hope the world's shit for them. You wouldn't say that. Do you know what I mean? So it benefits us
Yeah. Yeah.
to
And when we like helping someone else helps us.
absolutely it does. It absolutely it does.
Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
Tiff, I think what a beautiful way to end this podcast. Helping someone else helps us and heal the world. Let's just be fucking nice. Let's just and the last bit, show up. Just show up as you
Just yeah.
are. Just
Yeah.
show up because someone needs you. Someone needs to hear it. And
Mm.
I just love how you show up, and I always have. And I've said that from the start. And I know I've said that from the start, and I know I mean it. But I really value that about you, like from the deepest part of my heart. Such a fucking it's a rare thing, and it's such it's so much integrity behind it, and I just love you for it. Love you to bits, really do.
Well, I love you to bits too, so I'm bloody glad because I didn't want to be a stalker again.
This is a stalker love fest program, and
I always call
you're
myself the
enjoying it.
barnacle. I just cling to people like a little barnacle on a
Oh
ship.
shit, no, you can cling to me anytime, Tiff. I bloody love having, I love being around you. You're just one of those people that just, you'd be the sort of person I'd take on an ideal date. Don't take that the wrong way, because Nikki will get shitty. But
Think
it's
he'll punch me in the face.
no, she no, she wouldn't. She don't give a shit about any of that. What my ideal date is, lying out on the grass on a blanket in a, of course, not where there's snakes, or not where it's wet, none of those things. So there's probably a few restrictions, but lying there on a clear night with someone, just looking at all the stars and talking about the possibilities, and the just realizing how small we are, that we're just such a speck, and pondering what the hell's going on up there. Do like what is our place in the universe? To me, that is the perfect moment, is just doing that with someone who wants to go as deep as and just
Yes.
keep hashing it out, going, "Well, what do you think's up there? What do you think that? Have you ever thought about how these stars just disappear? When the shooting star and it died out thousands of years ago." To me, that is just and there's no need to be right. No, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be right. You just ponder together. You're the ideal date partner. So look
Oh,
out.
well, wait till I get back from the Himalayas, mate, because I just have this sense that it's going to be a real life perspective changing time for me over there.
When are you going?
4 weeks. Head
Wow.
off
And
on
what
the
are you
25th.
doing?
So head off. I'm going with Jem Fuller, who's my regular podcast guest. He's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Running a retreat. So he takes us up to the Himalayas in Nagar, which
Yeah.
is, I think it's about a 4 hour flight from Delhi. We
Wow.
spend 7 nights up there. 4 of the days will be hiking. One of those days will be hiking in silence.
Wow.
We'll do some facilitated workshops together. So there'll be a bit of personal slash professional stuff that we work on and come back and like it's gonna be beautiful. He's a bit like a male version of us. You'd get along
Yeah.
really well with him. He's beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, a very
Wow.
soft but strong person. And it all come about in a bit of a way. So I just, I feel like I need that time out, time away, and this
Yep.
is going to be just a breeding ground for some massive clarity and
Wow.
perspective. So can't wait.
Wow.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah.
yeah,
We're going to Cambodia for a week in end of November too, for the same thing.
oh,
Not same thing, we're taking a group of women with us, so we won't be hiking. There'll be none of that sort of hard exercise stuff, but a lot of reflection, a lot of
yeah,
resetting.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think the world's going to need a lot more of that sort of stuff. Just take some time out, get the mask off, breathe.
yeah.
You know,
I got to do a 2 day course with Mark Labusque earlier. Oh God, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago.
wow,
And it was amazing. He's another guest of mine that comes in regularly. He does this Human Manager Academy. It was a 2 day course. He had some corporates. He has a lot of corporate businesses that put their staff through it.
mm,
So there's a whole range of different people from different businesses. And then we just before jumping on with you, I was chatting with one of the guys. So we had our catch up, a young bloke and real like that shook me. The second
mm,
day of that, we did what's called immunity to change. Mark's done it with me before. It brings up some deep stuff. I picked a really superficial thing, ended up in tears,
mm,
ended up really emotionally raw and rocked the day after. because I was like, it was just me in the moment and the year I'm having, and it was the
yeah,
time for it. It was the next day that Jem rang me and said, a sponsored spot has been offered by someone on our retreat, and I want to offer it to you because I couldn't go because I was like, I don't have the resources to go this year.
yeah,
And so that was amazing, right? And same thing, like connecting, hanging out with this young kid. I can't remember how old he is, but he's young, he's in business. And I spent half an hour recapping on the changes that had made to him and I. And I
wow,
loved that, and
mm,
so,
yeah,
so not like he works at a tool, like a tool, like a blokey kind of, I think it was tools or something, a manufacturing, but so not alpha, so beautiful, so vulnerable. And they're just like the fact that these programs exist now
Yep.
and not bullshit. Like he's like I don't know, he's a bit Mark Manson-y, but yeah, real. You'd love him too. So I'm
Is
going to
it?
introduce.
Yeah, yeah. He's the one that does the You're Fired. I see that one.
He does well, he's got a podcast now called In the Raw. It
Yeah.
was the Human Manager, Simply Practically Human was his podcast, but he's now changed it. But he's on my show often.
Okay. Yeah, I've got him. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, another person you should speak to because
Absolutely.
again, just I really love blokey blokes that are vulnerable and straight shooters, but honest and open. And him
Yeah.
and Jem, I've always said to both of them separately, I'm like, you like twins like that. You both have the ability to, you're blokey and you're tough and you're cool, but also you're real and you're vulnerable and you're honest.
Yeah.
And you'll have the tough conversations. You don't hide shit. You don't wear a mask.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So do I. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care whether they're blokey blokes or, you know, tottery women in high heels, or I couldn't give a shit what you are. But that whole honesty and
Yeah.
rawness, Jesus Christ! Imagine the world. Just imagine the world if we'll just say, "Fuck it, I'm not going to bullshit anymore. Take the mask off and say, you take me as I am."
Yeah.
And God, we'd be in a better place, wouldn't we?
Yeah. We'll get
Even
there,
us,
mate.
like
Maybe
even
will
us.
we get there?
Well, I'm 61. I'm a lot older than you. And I don't know if we'll get there in my time, but maybe in yours. I don't, there's so much I wish for in my time that if I was being honest with myself, I know it's not going to bloody happen, but I wish for it, I do wish for it. But
Um,
anyway, who knows? Who knows? You just got to keep chipping away. And I think that, you can say, well, what's the point? What's the fucking point? People aren't going to change. But I think when I do die, I want to know that I paid my rent on this planet. I want to
mm,
know that every day mattered. I want to know that, and sure, once I'm dead, I'm dead. I can know what I did.
mm,
Maybe who knows what the hell. But I just think you got to go to bed every night and you got to sleep with yourself. You're the only person that matters who you sleep with is to sleep with yourself.
yeah.
And I don't know. Can are you happy with that person every
Mm,
day? And sometimes we're not, but most of the time, yeah, I did my best today. I think that
mm,
matters,
mm,
doesn't it?
yeah.
Mm. Well, that's a better way to end.
I know I kept you chatting then. I reeled you back in.
Oh, no,
Thank
that
you.
was a good, actually, it was a good reel back in. It's bloody fantastic. Well, Tiff, we better do it again anyway. And so I love any excuse to chat with Tiff, to be honest. So, I could just say, Tiff, I want to get you back on talk about horses and be like, what? The
I'd be
fuck?
there in a
But
shot,
anyway,
mate. Yeah.
we'll give it a crack. Anyway, I love talking to you, but we will do it again. And where can people find you? Because I do want people to go listen to your podcast and seek you out and do personal training with you if they want to, whatever.
Boom. Well, you'll find everywhere I am on tiffcook.com. I'm on Instagram. There's Roll with the Punches and there's Tiffanee and Co. and there's bloody Luna and Bear and I've got 1,000 accounts. But yeah, if you go to tiffcook.com, you should find most things, find the social platforms and all that jazz.
Yeah. Anyway, and even if you just Google Tiff Cook or Tiffanee Cook,
Yeah, I'm
Tiffany is with a
everywhere.
double E, by the
That's
way, because I buggered that up at our conference and she gave me a big buddy kick in the ass. So Tiffany, double E, Cook, or just Tiff Cook, and you will find Tiff and all the great things she's doing. So I hope people go and listen to your podcast too, because it's a
because
bloody
you're on it.
yeah, because I'm on it. So go listen to Tiff's
I've got
as
some
I'm
good
on it.
snippets going to drop on socials that I cut out of our last conversation. Yep. So keep your eyes on those.
Oh, fantastic. Good. Well, you're going up this week, so Ripper. Beauty. We'll inundate the super highway. All right. Catch up with you soon.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tiff. See ya.
Bye.
Ta-da, see ya.